Hey everybody, it's Wes here from Fundamental Games, and just thrilled to be back one more time to share with you what I'll call the final pre-production prototype of Legends of Novus. So this is coming in a nice hefty box, very similar to the one that you would have seen last time. What I like about this one is we've removed the gloss and the glare, so if you take a look, it's got kind of more of a matte finish, and it really makes the artwork speak for itself instead of having that glare off the lights or the camera in this case. And should fit nicely on your shelf. You can see Novus on all four sides. One of the sides will have the barcode, of course, and then when you check the back of the box, all the description of what's in the box is there, along with some visualization of the character board and the map and all the different characters and standees you can have. There are two changes that I have left to make on the back of this box, and that would be the number of treasure tokens is actually 50, not 40, and adjust the standees a little bit to reflect how they look in the final version, because they don't have the border in the final version. It makes it easier to do the printing properly. So that's the back of the box and the box itself, so loving that. And one good thing to note is when it comes to the cards will fit in the box sleeved, so it's going to come unsleeved, of course, but if you're a gamer that likes to sleeve your cards, like many people do, then you may enjoy that aspect of the box. It's just enough room to sleeve the cards. Alright, as we lift off the game box, we shall take a look here. Now I've already pre-punched the tokens, but the box will come with punch boards. So the punch boards will be for the standees and for all of the tokens. Keep in mind there's one slight change with the tokens, and this is based on a backer feedback, which I thought was great, is the quest creatures don't really need to be round. They're not coins, and wanted to differentiate them from the other tokens, so they're going to be square instead of round. And that'll also allow you to see more of the art on the little token. But beyond that, the coins turned out well. The travel tokens, we'll go over that in a second. So, but you will get the punch boards with your game. Next up, we will look at the rulebook. So the rulebook, again, just like last time, very nice finish, looks very professional. It's been proofread many times. I'm going to proofread it one last time over the weekend here before we say it's final. And but a big shout out to God Kaiser is his Kickstarter name. He's been a huge help in reviewing this many times. And I've had a few other people along the way that have read through the rulebook. So thank you for that. And one of the suggestions was to have combat right on the back, a cheat sheet, so that if you have your rulebook on the table, you can flip it over. And if you're new to combat or just want to make sure we're doing combat the right way, it's right on the back page. And the other recommendation was having a icon glossary. So there are a lot of icons in the game, so to have a page dedicated just for that, it's in the third last page of the rulebook. That's a rulebook. Again, I think that turned out well. Next up, we have the location guide. Now, the location guide did print the wrong size one last time, so we will be making sure with the manufacturer they've got to understand that it must be the full box size, because it really emphasizes the art and gives more room for the text. And I mean, it's about the same cost, so it makes more sense to have the bigger one, because there's a lot of information on the location guide, and it's your way to get around the world. And there's some amazing art by Boris Turano and by Matthias Simone and by the lovely artist whose name I don't want to butcher, so I won't say her name on camera here, but she added 2 pieces as well. So I want to see that in full size. But beyond that, the interior looks great, the cuts are great, and all the icons are correct, and it's alphabetical 100% now, so good to see that. Then the character boards. So the plan was to have 5 character boards included with the game, and ta-da, we have our first prototype that has the 5 character boards. So you can see them all here, and probably hard to see the color on camera, but if you look at the back there, you will see that there are 5 different colored boards, and they're on the front as well. And then when you open up the boards, the banners above each of the locations is also colored the same, so they're not a huge differentiation in color, but enough that if you have a color preference, you can pick the board you like. All the boards on the inside are identical, and they've got, just like we talked about, you might be able to see it at the angle there, but the dual layer, you can feel the ribbing there, and they're on here as well. The reason they're on here is just for a nice 3D visual when you're playing the game, and for potential expansion purposes, having that extra pre-cut layer in the base game, who knows what kind of mechanic it could come up with to put things or hide things under the cards. So that's the character boards, 5 of them. They're pretty sturdy. I mean, we wanted to keep the cost at a reasonable level and make sure that they didn't overwhelm the size of the box, so they're not insanely thick, but they will get the job done for holding the cards and for holding the cubes. So that is the 5 character boards. Love those. Alright, next up is the board itself. So when you're exploring the world of Novus, you're going to need, unless you backed for the neoprene mat, which I still have a couple available if anybody wants one, but we've got the world of Novus. And again, it went from a sheer glossy finish to more of a matte finish, and that allows you to read it better in bright lights. You can see even the light off here is probably not reflecting too much. But all the words came out very clear, the map is clear, and it'll get a little bit crowded when you're playing with 5 players if you all go to the same location, but it's usually players tend to split up when they're playing with that many players. So, but there's the board, quad fold, folds nice and easy, and it's sturdy. It's not going to tear after 2 or 3 plays. Maybe if you play it 50 times, then congratulations for playing it 50 times, then it might wear out, but it is reminds me of many other games, just no issues there. Very good. Then the quest creature tiles. So I think we had these last time as well. They turned out fantastic. The artwork really shines. It's nice to have them on the larger boards instead of on cards. And so they're durable. They can get passed around the table. These are the guys that are going to win you the game or cause you to cry in frustration when they defeat you. So it's nice to see all that artwork, and on the back of each they've got their stories. So the only thing to change on these, I've gone through and edited them a few times. The one thing I'm going to change is one of Eisenthrak's powers actually duplicates, so I'll fix that on the file there. And we'll update the P&P in case anybody wants to have that altered, but it's nothing drastic. It may just change one small part of him, and he doesn't come out very often. He's a late addition to the game thanks to the stretch goals that we hit. So again, thank you for that. So there are 8 of the character tiles, and then included in the game as a 9th tile is just a map of Novus. So if you happen to become a Legend of Novus when you are playing the game, put this next to your character board, take a selfie or a character board pic, and show that you've won Legend of Novus. On the other side is just a little bit of promo art for Die in the Dungeon, the next game being worked on by Fundamental Games. So I thought that was pretty cool. Alright, next up is the Solo Dial. So Solo Dial, same as last time. This time it does have the pin in it, and it's very sturdy, and it does exactly what it needs to do. It'll track us from, let's get the right side there. It'll track us from 1 to 30. Technically you lose the game after 25 turns if you're playing solo, but you may want to finish your game and just see how many turns it takes. Usually you can win a game in 30 turns. If not, you have terribly bad luck or might have made some wrong decisions. And it's double-sided, so you can have Osira or you can have Eisenthrak's showcased on your solo dial. And you'll notice the outside rim is a little bit larger than the inside, and that was intentional so that you can hold aside while you spin it, but it does exactly what it needs to do. Next, let's look at the Standees. So in the latest version I did change the Standees, and the reason I did that was adding the borders just kind of crowded the art a bit too much, so we took out the borders and really zoomed in on the head of the characters, because when you have the character card in front of you, you're going to see the art anyway for the body, so this just really emphasizes the character heads. And so there are a total of 10 Standees, 1 for each character, but there'll only be 5 bases because, pardon me, the game is designed to be a maximum of 5 players, and the bases come on and off relatively easy. I mean, once you snap your Standee in there, it's very, I guess you can't see it on the camera. It sticks very well, but peeling them on and off is not hard either. So 10 Standees all came in, they all printed out well, so happy with those. Next up we'll look at the cubes and dice. So two 10-sided action dice, nothing special, nothing etched, they're just 10 d10s, so nothing going to change there. The cubes are just basic, red and blue, red for combat, blue for experience. Anybody's probably seen these if you've played Pandemic or played any game involving plastic cubes. So those are normal, there's 10 of those, 2 for each player. And then the last one is the die. Now I did put a post about this in the latest update and on the Facebook group, but we decided to go from an etched die, which was what we committed to in the pledge, and move to a heat transfer die. So a heat transfer die allows you to have more definition and allows you to have color instead of just black. So the one I have here is a heat transfer die of the old icons, and if you saw in the update, I decided to go with the actual icons that you see on the character boards and on the back of the cards. And so the reason I chose that is it really represents the card that you're going to draw or the action that you're going to take, matching up with the icons that are in the rulebook and throughout the entire game. If you don't like having a heat transfer die, a change from the etched die, please reach out to me at fundamentalgames@icloud.com. I do plan to put in an order for just a set of etched dice using these original icons that you saw, if this is what you were hoping for, and I would ship that to you. So let me know. Hopefully not too many of you need that, because it would be a rather expensive cost to ship just a single die across countries or across nations or continents even. But if you really want that and that's what's going to make you not be interested in fundamental games again, I'd love to know, because my goal is to make this a great Kickstarter experience for you and a wonderful game for you. So that's for the die. Alright, next we have the tokens. So tokens are various sizes. I already mentioned that the quest creature tokens will alter and we'll have those as squares, but they'll still have the red backing and the character on the front. And so what happens is when you defeat a quest creature, they come off the board and they'll go next to your character board instead of putting that giant tile next to your board, which was the original plan. So the tokens were a late add-on. They weren't even a pledge. They were just a bonus thrown into the game. So hopefully you like that bonus. And then of course we have the treasure tokens. So treasure tokens come in 3 sizes, or 4 sizes I guess. So let me just pour them into the box here and show you. The big 50, the mid-size 25, the smaller size 10, and the really small 5, kind of like a copper. So they're designed to be able to fit on the top of your character board and your little treasure spot there, just to make it easy to keep all your stuff on one board instead of having it all around the table, because the game does take up enough table space as it is without trying to crowd things around your board. If you can have everything on your board, much easier for play space and for other players to know exactly what you have. And then there are tokens included as a late bonus as well. So the luck token, each player gets one of those, and the explorer token, which I mentioned previously. Explorer token is a optional way to showcase that you are exploring instead of tipping over your standee, which was the original concept. You could put this under your standee, or you could have it in a certain spot on your character board and take it off when you've explored, or however the players decide to use the explore token. It's just an optional way to show that you've explored a location, because you can't explore a location more than once consecutively. So in total there are 50 regular tokens and then a bunch of other tokens for those other things. Alright, and that brings us to the meatiest part of the game, which is the cards. Now, when it came to the prototype, it turns out the cards are still being sent to me in paper formats, so I don't have them printed on the cards. However, I do have full stacks of blank cards, which I can use for future prototypes, but it does give an idea of how the cards will feel. So you can see there, they bend back into position fairly easy. They'll fit perfectly in a card sleeve. They've got a nice gloss finish to them, so they'll be resistant to cheesy fingers or other things that people may try to do with your game. And the corners will be rounded a little bit more than these are. So these are fairly straight edge. Those will get rounded. But in essence, this is 180 cards, and then there'll be another 34 or 40 after that. I can't remember the total card count, but all the cards will be able to fit in the box and sleeved. And how I tested that was with 220 sleeved magic cards along with all these other components, and it all fits in the box with the lid nice and snug. What I'm still looking at is a quad cardboard insert so that you could at least sort some of these token bags and cards in different spots underneath the character boards and the rulebook and such. So that is the cards themselves. And then for the printout of the cards, so what I'll be doing for the next day and a half, in between working and life, of course, is going through these sheets one last time. I've gone through them in the last batch. I fixed quite a few errors at that time, and so I'll go through each of these and fix up anything that might be missing. One thing I will try to do, and it can be a bit challenging, I'll try to enlarge some of the icons just to make them more stand out a bit more. Because when you do have small cards, and if the light is dim, it could be hard to read some of the iconography that's on the cards. But beyond that, the color comes out fantastic. So Andrea's art really shines on these cards between the characters, the equipment. It's all in there. The card backs turned out nicely. So happy with how that is. And if you look here, all the encounter or the adventure deck looking nice, so I can see that the fronts and backs match for any of the cards, and that if there's anything that doesn't work or doesn't line up, I'll get that fixed. But I think from what I've seen so far, it's good. And the encounter cards as well, looking pretty sharp. The art is shining. There's a few pieces left that I will be updating the art to the latest images that I had before this prototype was ordered, because it was about 2 weeks before the final art was finished that I had already put this in for being produced. And there you have it. That is the final prototype for Legends of Novus. A lot of wonderful things inside this box. Really pleased with dealing with E-Star in Ningbo, China. It's been fantastic. Vincent, big shout out to him for communicating with me through Skype, through email, through different methods, just to try to bring this game to you 682 backers that made this possible, plus the other I think we're up to about 40 additional people through Game Fund, and I think we're going to get a few more once we do one last marketing push. And there's a couple of retailers that are interested in a full case, which is 16 boxes as well. Alright, so if you have any questions about the prototype, about the game, by all means let me know. Hopefully through the weekly Friday updates you've learned different things about the game, as well as some behind the scenes stuff and some of the other stuff that I've been working on. And if you do have any interest in Die in the Dungeon, there's a Facebook group specific to that. A print and play available, and I've actually made a prototype that's being shipped to me in a few weeks through the Game Crafter. So thrilled to see what that's going to look like on actual tiles and professional printouts and stuff like that, to play through a game of that. And I'll probably post a link in one of the Friday updates in the coming weeks for that. And then last but not least, I did talk about it in the latest update, but there is going to be a Kickstarter only about a week and a half long for the Legends of Novus 5e adventure. And the reason for that is just to try to get this out into more people's hands, raise more awareness about the world of Novus and all these amazing creatures and characters that have been created for it, and see if people that live in the D&D fantasy setting that maybe don't play board games would enjoy a chance to play in that campaign world through the Kismatic's Keep adventure. Joshua and the X crew, they're finishing up that campaign or that adventure, and so we should have the finale to that maybe on Wednesday, Thursday next week. And so all 3 of his videos will be embedded in the Kickstarter, and it was just nice to see Novus on Kickstarter one more time. And the other thing it does is it gives people a chance to see it, that the board game is available on GameFound, or they can do an extra pledge to get the print and play, just like some of you have done. So that's it. That's all. Thank you very much. It's been fantastic getting Legends of Novus made, and the next time we see a new box, it's going to be the final box, so that's pretty awesome.